Gjør klart til opptak. Klaffer?
It's just like,
No.
Please, 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 please.
You're still playing detective. How quick.
I can assure you that I can get to the bottom of this for an ever so professional fee.
Murder, missing treasure, ghosts.
9 lives, this one.
Hello, welcome to Unrestricted View Film Festival. My name's James Wren and I'm the festival director. Today I'm joined by Hannah Gamble, who is the director, writer and producer of Choose Me, an Abortion Story. Hey Hannah, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks James.
So before we get started on your piece, I've been asking all the filmmakers how the last year has been, because obviously it's not been easy. So I mean, for you personally, how has it been with work? And
Well, basically it meant that I had no idea, what the future would hold. And so I just kind of spent my time trying to write the second season of Choose Me, which I'm envisioning as kind of an anthology series where the first season of Choose Me is a story about abortion, but the second one will be about being a survivor of sexual violence. So I was mostly just trying to write that, and really, really sad that I couldn't actually be on set very much with anybody ever.
yeah, no, it's been a tough year, isn't it, for just to get great stuff done. I think it's amazing that we've been able to do these sort of things, and at least we can reach out to people, but it's not quite the same, is it? So
Not at all.
no. So all right. Tell us, how did it all come about? How did the idea of Choose Me come about?
Well, so before I became a filmmaker, I was a poet, and I guess I still am. And just, I don't know, for me, being a writer means writing what you know. And I think that's because when I was a kid, I used to write plays for my church group to perform. But I was like 14, very sheltered, homeschooled, Christian, growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, which is really conservative. Um, so I was writing this play for my church group, and I remember writing about someone smoking a whole carton of cigarettes, but I really didn't understand anything about smoking because I was 14 and didn't smoke yet. And so I was trying to know and write about things that I had no experience in. And then, the older people were kind of laughing at me, like, no one can smoke a carton of cigarettes in a whole day, Hannah. And of course they just thought it was cute, but I think that kind of set me on a path of like, I should only write things that I have personal experience with, because otherwise I just won't be able to pull it off and it won't be authentic. So with Choose Me, an Abortion Story, it just literally is what happened to me when I was in my earlier 30s, that I got pregnant. And for me, there was not even a question of whether, I would choose to continue that pregnancy. I was single, and I just don't, really, it wasn't a good time, and I'm not sure if I ever want to have kids. So I just wanted to write an abortion story where there really wasn't much conflict in terms of, will I keep the baby? Won't I keep the baby? Where there was just no question, like, of course I can't afford to have a child, and that's not the right move right now. And so I just wanted the character to have, you know, no guilt, no second guessing themselves, and also to be a more mature person where, you know, I think sometimes American TV and movies wants to let their characters off the hook by being like, oh, well, you know, she was just 14. She had to have an abortion. 14-year-olds shouldn't be moms, you know, but I didn't want that like easy out. I just wanted a person who thought it was absolutely the right choice. And so all the conflict in the show actually comes from other things as opposed to like trying to decide what to do about the pregnancy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Emily Modaff did a great job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did you know her before, and the rest of the cast and crew, or was it something you brought in just for this project?
Well, okay, so first I'll say Emily Modaff is a wonderful non-binary person. So their pronouns are they, them, though they are playing a woman in the show. And I think I just met Emily at a DIY like rock show at a renovated firehouse in Chicago. I was selling jewelry that I made at the time, and I just met them that way. And we became friends on social media, and I really, really liked them and how expressive their face was. I knew that I was going to be using an actor who wouldn't actually get to do a lot of fun stuff on screen because they're just going to be pretending to be pregnant and feeling like death the whole time. So I knew that I needed someone who could just like do a lot with their face. And I wanted someone fairly androgynous as well, since I am.
No, it's great. And how about the rest of the crew? Did you bring in friends or you know, colleagues or?
Yeah, it was mostly people that I was just connected to, like Sean Kelly, who's the director of photography. I just met him through a friend who knew him through actually being in bands in Chicago. So yeah, I kind of just I pulled in friends or friends of friends, and in some cases it would just be the most random situation where like I would be at an arts event and I would get too stoned to drive myself home. So my friend Dolly Lemke, I asked her to drive me home. And while she was driving me home, I was lamenting how hard it is to be a first-time filmmaker and feel like you're doing absolutely everything yourself. And much to my surprise, Dolly, who is a learning designer, she was just like, give me a clipboard, give me an Excel spreadsheet. I want to help you. And I was like, whoa, what? Awesome. And so even though she had had no connection to film industry, performing, bands, art, fashion show, all the stuff that I do, she's much more of a hermit. She wanted a clipboard and she wanted to do all the things that turn my brain to mush, like Excel spreadsheets and long-term project management. I don't even know what a Gantt chart is. Do you, James? Because I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, it was mostly people that were pretty close to me or friends of friends. That's what you have to do when you have no money.
Yes, well,
But it worked out well. I mean, I know a lot of talented people.
Yeah, well, and it did work well. So you said there's plans for series 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is that using the same characters, or is it going to be like a different story with different people?
Oh, yeah. It is going to be a different story with different people. Yeah. Although I would like for perhaps Emily Modaff, because I love them so much. I'm thinking of bringing them in as a character who's part of, you know, whoever I get to play the lead for Choose Me, a survival story. I was thinking of bringing Emily in as just part of that character's chosen family and get to provide some of the support that, you know, Emily's character was receiving from other people in the abortion story.
Well, that's fantastic. So Emily's still being Agnes, but a sort of
That's what I would like to
Playing
happen.
in the city, sort of just moving around. Yeah, lovely.
I've already talked to them about it and they're on board. And I think we'll also be down to help me find some new talent, because they've continued to be an actor and a voiceover artist and a musician. So they still know tons of great people that I probably should meet at some point.
Fantastic. So aside of series 2, it's what else have you got going on? What's next?
Well, honestly, I love horror movies so much. And my director of photography, who at this point I've become lovely friends with, Sean Kelly, he also loves horror movies, and we like to talk about I guess craft. Like, there are some people that you love to talk about work with, and he's one of those for me. So I would love to make a queer horror movie that's sort of in the vein of some of the really excellent movies that came out over the last few years, like Get Out from Jordan Peele, or this is not exactly a horror movie, but I don't know if you saw Sorry to Bother You.
No, I didn't. No.
It's kind of a fantastical like comment on I guess capitalism and gig economy and race stuff. It's about one of the gimmicks in the movie is Black people using white voices on the telephone, like for their job, and how everything goes better when they use like a white talking voice. Anyway, I love absurd humor. I love a movie that's aware of social context and kind of satirizing that. So I would just love to make a queer horror movie, and I think that I would probably just be focusing on the absolute horrors of being like a femme person, or a woman in the world and never feeling safe. So that's another thing I'm working on.
That sounds exciting. Yeah. So what stage are you at with that? Or is it just
Well, right now, I guess I'm in the stage where I'm just talking to other filmmaker friends who have done some work in the horror genre. There's a woman here in Chicago named Molly Pease who did a really excellent short film that was like a trans narrative that also was a zombie movie. So actually I've been doing I guess we've sort of been a writer's room of 2 over the last week. And she's helping me actually kind of create like a goblin character that might be very disgusting. And I think, I don't know, that's where I'm at with it. Just trying to figure out what would be fun for a viewer to see also, because Choose Me is a very calm, sort of mumblecore, like just realistic, sparse series, and there's nothing super imaginative or fantastical, I guess, until maybe the last episode. There's a little bit of like dream sequence and fantasy, but I definitely would love to in the future give viewers just more fun things to look at, especially after a year of being inside with COVID. Whenever I can see a movie that just lets me look at a beautiful countryside or an amazing old house, I'm just so happy to not be in my apartment anymore. So I want to try and do that for people, even if we get to live in the world more actively, later this year. I still just want to, I guess, surprise and delight a little more than sort of a super realistic telling of a story might allow for.
fabulous? Okay, one last question. I like to ask this one, but it's kind of one of those impossible questions to answer, because I think it sort of depends sometimes where you are in your life, sometimes, But anyway, the question is, who inspires you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
sorry.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna need a minute because
Uh,
there are just so many. In terms of filmmaking or making TV shows, I'm sure you know of Michaela Cole.
yes, of course.
Okay, so I watched I May Destroy You, in the past year and was just completely in love with it. I'm sure you've heard or, maybe even seen for yourself that it can be so, that show is very triggering maybe for survivors of sexual violence, but it's something that I would say is worth it. Like, even though the first or second episodes of that show, like, literally could have put me in the hospital, I was so overwhelmed. Um, but she's so talented. She's so funny. She's so smart. She's so beautiful and amazing, and so I'm just completely astonished by her. And yeah, she's the one. And then I do really love Jordan Peele. uh I thought he was so funny in Key and Peele, and then I just loved Get Out, and also Barry Jenkins. Do you know the movie Moonlight that came
Oh,
out?
yes, yes, of course.
The
Yeah, yeah,
incredible
yeah,
Oscar thing, yeah.
yeah.
That's another filmmaker who whose work I just think is so beautiful and emotional and complex. Um, so yeah, those are the first three that come to mind in terms of filmmakers that I would basically just I don't know what I would do if I ever got to meet them. They're amazing.
Mm, fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. So Choose Me, an Abortion Story can be seen on Wednesday, the 28th of April. It's part of the web series competition. And you can get tickets at unrestrictedview.co.uk or uvff.co.uk. Hannah, thanks again for taking the time. It's been lovely to meet you, and hopefully we'll speak very soon.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me, James. It was so good to talk to you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Well, I'm definitely pregnant. Yeah, directions said results in 3 to 5 minutes, and the second my pee hit the stick, it was like, pregnant!
We should petition the governor or something, right? And get you a character witness or somebody to say that you're like of sound mind and that you don't use drugs. I mean, we'll say that you don't.
Have the baby and I'll raise it.
Mom, no, you're a 60-year-old woman with thyroid disease who lives on alimony and God's blessings. We are really not the children she was hoping for.
You can say that again.
Sunscreen, flip-flops, a long flowy dress. I think you're all packed and ready, and I think you're in for a wonderful time.